If you are new to the channel, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. Today we are continuing on with our Filament Admin Panel series. I want to add the finishing touches to this project, and then at the very end, I'm going to answer some questions that you guys have been asking me. Now, the first thing that I want to take a look at is the translations that we installed with Filament. A lot of people ask me about handling translations, both in Laravel in general, as well as Filament. But the reason why I have been avoiding translations is because it is very, very simple, but it is the most tedious thing for me to do. So let's head over into the text editor and I'll show you what I mean. When we install the translation for Filament in the setup video that you can go and take a look at, it installed translations for us. So what we can do is go to the language folder, and here is the vendor folder, and there's a Filament folder with all of the languages that came with it. Now, I know this is probably not every language. I mean, it's a lot of languages. It might not be every language, but it is here. I speak English. I'm going to show you the English version of this. And if you take a look here, you open up Pages, and let's say you go to Dashboard. As you can see here, the title of our page is Dashboard. Right up here, this is the title of the page, and then there's a link as well. So let's go ahead and run a really quick, simple test. All I'm going to do is I'm going to add ER to this translation. Now, if I refresh, you can see the title is now Dashboarder, and the link is also Dashboarder. This has been translated in English just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that back, and then let's take a look here. You see we have resources, we have widgets, everything that is in those default pages have these translations. So that's basically how you would do it. Now, if you want to do them in a language that is not a language that you speak, for instance, let's go to the Spanish folder here, which is ES. We open up Pages and we go to that same page that we have here. This is the Spanish translation for Dashboard. In order to get this to a point where we can see it in Spanish, let's go ahead and open up the config app.php. This is just a page where you can kind of customize different things. So your environment variables are in here. That's pretty much it. You also have the time zone, which mine is UTC. We have the locale, and mine is for English. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put ES in here for Spanish, and then we're going to take a look at the browser. Refresh. And as you can see now, everything that is from the default, so everything that came with the default, not the ones that we did, but the defaults have Spanish translations now. So these different pages that came with Laravel have it. And if we go over here, you see that the toggle button over here is translated and the logout button is translated. If you want to do it for the rest of these, you would have to go in and add your own translations. How is this being displayed? Well, if we go to the app.blade.php, and all the way at the very top, you see HTML language equals, and then it has string replace and some characters in here. And then there's the app get locale, and this is where that locale is being rendered. It is based on the locale that you are currently in. So if you were in a predominantly Spanish-speaking country, then get locale will indicate that the app should be displayed with Spanish translations. Let's go ahead and close this, and I will turn this back, and I'll close that. Now, if you do want to translate the titles for the rest of your pages and the navigation, then you would have to put that folder in here. The documentation will show you how to do this, but you would be able to go ahead and add it in here. Basically, let's say you have a permissions page like we do. Okay, so if we go to permissions, this permissions would then be in Spanish, and everywhere where this permissions is listed, so this link here, anywhere where we have permissions, then that will also change the translation. Now, as I said, this is really, really tedious. And if you speak one, maybe two languages, then maybe you can do those. Something that I use frequently, especially when I'm adding subtitles to all of my videos, I use Google Translate to translate pretty much everything that I have. So that's something that you can use if you want to sit there and do that. That is completely and totally up to you. If you wanted to look at the Laravel translations, if you open this up, in English, we have the auth pages, which these are the messages and the pagination. Maybe I'll do a video on showing you how to do these. It's pretty much the same thing. You create a folder with the initials of the letters that you're going to be using. So let's say for us, Spanish was ES, and then you have, I think this is French, Hindi, Japanese, maybe Korean. But you would just create those folders and then you would create the translations like these have here. See, this one also has its own translations. So does passwords. in these basically reset sent, all of this you would have to have translated. They all need to be translated for different languages. So you could do something like that here. And if you wanted to translate your entire app, that means that every single reference to any word that you have has to be in that language folder. And this way it'll be accessible to different people. It's really, like I said, really, really tedious. Now that it's done, let's go ahead and close these off and let's move on. The next thing that I want to do is I want to create some new widgets for this dashboard page. I want to get rid of these two and then I want to add my own. So let's start with getting rid of them first. If we open up the Filament config file, okay, and we go down to, it's the login page, that's a dashboard page. These are the widgets here. So I'm just going to go ahead and comment these two out. That should get rid of those widgets for us. Okay, good. So let's go ahead and build our own. Now, the first one that I want to do, it is really useful, especially if your web page has Google Analytics or anything like that, then this is a really good widget to use because it displays the stats overview. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this line right here. And then I'm going to open up a new terminal. And then I'm going to go ahead and just paste that right here. We can keep it the exact same name. It is fine. Are we using a resource for this? No, we are not. Just press enter and then it has successfully been created. Let me close these and then we'll go to app, filament, widget, stats overview. Right now in here, we don't really have anything listed, which is fine. I am going to go ahead and just paste a bunch of stuff. I did this with the e-commerce series as well. It's fine. Just, it's the same thing. I just want to give you it's already imported the card. That's fine. I just think it's a good indicator of how these stats are working on your website. So if you do have Google Analytics, then you can go ahead and include this information in here. You would just use the information from the Google Analytics in order to fill in all of this information. But as you can see, there's a chart, there's a description, it's make unique views, 192.1 thousand, and there's also HeroIcons over here. So now if we go ahead and refresh it, we should see that new widget. Okay, we have unique views, the bounce rate, average time. This is something, like I said, you can get that information from something like Google Analytics, and then you would have it. I do want to see what this looks like in dark mode. Yeah, see? Very cool. Very, very cool. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that back to light so that I can see it clearly. And let's go ahead and work on our next widget. Now, if we head back to the documentation, you can see this is pretty much everything that we just did, which was just to add that stuff. And then we added the descriptions and icons. As I said, everything for this is in the documentation, and this will help guide you to customize it for your particular projects. So now the next one I want to do is I want to create a little bit of a chart. If we head over to the chart section, admin panel, go down to dashboard charts. This is where all of that information is. What I want to do is I want to create a chart, but I want to do a very specific chart. And this one I want to do is the bar chart widget. So let's go ahead and bring it in, and then we'll go ahead and adjust it accordingly. Now, this is the command that I want to use, but I do want to change the name of it. So we'll go ahead for right now and paste that in. And instead of blog posts chart, I'm going to do users chart. This way we'll be able to track how many users that we have in our database, and we can track when, well, you can basically track it on whatever you want. So if you want to track how many there are that joined after a certain date or before a certain date or whatever you want to do, you can add something like that here. So for us, we're not going to be using a resource, so we'll just go ahead and press enter. And the kind of chart that I want to use is 0 pie chart, enter. So now we have the users chart here. I can go ahead and drop this. We're not going to need that. For our heading, instead of chart, I want to call it users. And then we're going to work on the get data function. Now, what we can do here is just use some of the dummy information from Filament. So right here, if you go down a little bit, you can see they have some data sets here. So we're going to go ahead and copy this just so that we can see something. And go ahead, paste that in. And now you can see we have some data sets, blog posts created. We don't have any blog posts, but it's just, like I said, dummy data. So there's data with some numbers over here, and then there are labels to indicate the months of the year. Go ahead and refresh that. And now you can see we have a chart here, and these are the months that we just looked at, and here are the integers that we looked at. But as you can see here, you see very closely, there are these little bars here. And this is great and all, but I mean, that's silly. So let's try to look at the dark mode, and that's absolutely fine. You can actually see the values here. But to me, this just doesn't really make sense to have it be only really usable for dark mode. So we're going to go make some changes and customize it. Now, are there a bunch of different ways to do this? Yeah, probably. This is the way that I'm going to show you how to do it. What we're going to do is we're going to create a variable and we're going to call it users. And then we're going to say that that equals the user. We can select the created at field. And then we're going to get. Then we want it to group by function. And we're going to group it from the variable that we are creating right now. And let me also get rid of these. So next to users, we're going to return carbon. Let's import that. And then we're going to use the parse function from carbon. And then we're going to say users created at, and then we're going to format it with just the full month. So let's do a semicolon here and do another semicolon here. And then I want another variable called quantities. And that's just going to equal an array. We're going to loop over the users. So for each users as user equals value, we're going to have array push. This is just PHP. The quantities array that we have. And then we want to push in the value count. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy a bunch of stuff because you've seen me type and talk enough today. So we have our data sets. The label is users joined. The data is from the quantities. So we've pushed the, let me import this. We've pushed the user count into the quantities up here. And then we have some background color. Now these charts are basically being used from chart.js. And so I just went to the chart.js documentation to kind of take a look at how to do these. And that's where I got these from. Okay, so we have a background color, we have a border color, and we have a border width of 1. And then labels is just the user keys that we're getting from our loop over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what this looks like now. Something to show you too is that this chart is being displayed in real time and we're getting errors while we're doing it. So let's just try to refresh it real quick. And let's see, array must be null given. Okay, let's see what I messed up. Now that I'm looking at this, I think I did, this should be a capital B. Let's try this again. Do I have an extra, oh, I misspelled that. I don't know what happened there, but we'll go ahead. Paste that, and now let's try it again. So you can see now it's October. I pretty much did these in October, so that's our users. But if we had any other months, then they would display here as well. Fantastic. Okay, so now that we've done all of that, to cover some of the things that I really wanted to do with this project, which was to, one, change these colors. These colors are, I mean, they're not my preference. They're not my preference, so I'll just leave it at that. But I did try to change them, and I got it working, but when I did, this turned to blue, and that's not the color that I had chosen for it. I hadn't chosen any of the other colors, just the colors that came with the default colors. I could not get this to change. I don't know why that is. I did everything. I installed tippy.js, which was part of what the documentation said, and I still couldn't get it up. I'm sure if I took more time with it, I might be able to figure it out, but at this time, it doesn't really bother me that this is the color, so I'm not too worried about it. The other thing is that for the users, when we did our installation, we did it with Jetstream, Fortify, Sanctum, all that stuff. Now, Jetstream has its own way of dealing with the user profiles. And I tried to integrate that method with the avatar setup that they have, and I kind of got it working, but I couldn't get it to save to the database. And for me, it's no sense in doing that. So at this point, the admins can't really do anything with the user images from here. As far as we're concerned, I couldn't figure it out, so I can't really show that to you. Now, as I stated in I think it was either the preview video or the project setup video that I did for this series, I mentioned that I have other admin panels on my channel and they're all in different playlists. And one of the things that I do with those admin panels is I keep it super simple. I just focus on the core functionality that comes baked into whatever project that we use. For this one, I did need to use Spatie's Laravel-Permissions, but other than that, everything in this series that we used was through Laravel or through Filament directly. I didn't install any extra packages, any extra plugins, any of the bells and whistles, because I genuinely feel that if we can understand the core of what's going on with what we have, then adding plugins and adding different things like that are not going to help us. They're just really going to give us permission to skip through so many different steps to get to it. That's why I teach the things I do in the way that I do it. So no, I am not installing any packages or plugins to this admin panel. Now, at some point, I might, not necessarily to this one, but maybe we'll build a project, with the admin panel on it. Maybe I'll use Filament again, but I will be moving on after this project. And I do want to show you a few things before I finish this video. The plugins. In the Filament documentation, there's a link to this plugins page right here. And if you scroll down, you see a bunch of different packages that it has and different things that you can use. You have a Filament Tailwind color picker. Maybe that's something that you can use. There's just a lot of other ones, and they're just little nifty things for you to just tackle this and this and this. But like I said, if you don't even know what's going on under the hood, then when you run into a problem with these, you're not going to know how to fix them. There are a lot to pick out from here. One of them that you guys asked me to take a look at was Shield. From here, you can just kind of do a search for it, but I'm just going to go directly to the page, and it is right here. As you can see, it includes the authorization for you. It includes Spatie for you. And now that we have built it using what's going on under the hood, then you'll be able to use this package a little bit better. The only thing that we didn't do, which they happen to do, is create a config file for certain things. This is the repo for it. And if you go down, you see these are some upgrade informations, but it tells you how to install it. As I said, it is already including the Spatie's Laravel permission package. Okay, you use it the exact same way that we did, and then it will publish a Shield config file. And these are what you would use to do that. And that's all well and good. This is all well and good. But now that you know what this package is doing under the hood, then you will be a pro at using this plugin. I might come back and do this at some point in the future, but I'm not making any promises about that. I've already added that to the list of future projects, but it's nowhere near my calendar right now. And I don't like to do the admin panels back to back because I did that last year, and then that's all my channel was about, was the admin panels. And I want to do a variety of different things on this channel. So we will be doing something else soon. Now, something that I do want to mention too, and it completely skipped my mind altogether, but when we did the icons when we did these icons over here, I told you what the icons were, but I didn't tell you anything about anything of them. In the documentation, if you go under admin panel and then you scroll down to navigation, this is where we are here. You can see right now under this getting started section, it's saying that by default, Filament uses the HeroIcons. And if you click this, it'll take you to this page over here, and basically you could just use any one of these icons. You can use outline, solid. This is what I use for mostly everything. And if you go down, you see that these are the different icons. Now, something to note, as you can see, some of these have hyphens in between them. I noticed that when I tried to use icons that had more than, I believe it was 3, so bar 3 center, then anything after that, it would just not be registered within Filament. Filament will throw an error, but you can use something with 3 words, so like chart, bar, square. You can use that. And let's try this one just to test it out. I'm going to use it for the permissions one. And this one is a key, so I'm just going to go ahead and add that. But you do not need all those spaces. Let's go ahead and try this. And it's unable to locate a class or view. It just doesn't acknowledge this as a valid icon. But if you were to use something like this, it will. We can just get rid of that and try it again. As you can see, it's been registered right here. So as I said, just be mindful of which ones you use. I don't know why it does that, but that's just a little tip for you. And I'm going to change this back to key. I'm also going to be leaving the link for HeroIcons in the description and as a pinned comment. If you're enjoying the content, please go ahead and click that like button as it really does help out the channel. Here's a video YouTube thinks you'll like, and here's a playlist to follow along. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.